Hi, I'm Brandee, and in this video, I'm going to share with you some ways to start learning and practicing rail balance. Rail balance is a staple in parkour training because it allows you to be able to control yourself on very narrow surfaces and also requires great focus and patience to learn well. I think of rail balance as a long game practice, which means you may not learn it right away, but if you work hard over time, you'll find the benefit in all your other techniques. Practicing balance is also great for days of rest or recovery, as well as for mental practice of focus and tenacity. Keep in mind this practice is not about getting across the railing, but being able to control yourself when you're on it so that eventually you can do many other movements as well. For this reason, make sure to do your practice slowly and fight for as much control as you can. As always, start by checking your area for hazards and anything that's unsafe. Then make sure to warm up appropriately for your body. You want to feel energetic and ready, but not overly tired. Things to focus on are the ankles, knees, hips, and general relaxation. Don't forget, balance is all about staying relaxed and focused. Next, we're going to work on the dismount. Knowing how to fail or bail any technique not only makes you safer, it also makes you more confident for when you need to try and use this in a different scenario or when you're trying to push your abilities. Notice with the dismount, you're going to use a support object as well as the railing so that you feel comfortable on top of it. You're going to crouch down, prioritizing grabbing on and then guiding your feet to the ground. This should be a motion that feels in control and absorbs the energy. Again, crouching down is the most important part of this and prioritizing hands to the rail. Imagine what would happen if you were on a railing that was head height or higher. You definitely would want to be able to hang on to it still. What you don't want to do is jump away from the railing and then try to grab on afterwards. This is pretty common, especially if you still have a lot of stress or fear when you're falling down. But the problem with this is there's less control, and again, if you're on a higher railing, it's not going to work out so well. Make sure you're thinking about dropping your hips as low as you can, grabbing on, and then controlling your feet to either side. When you feel like you have a functional dismount, it's time to start trying to stand on the railing. If you can perfect standing on one foot and standing on the other, walking is going to be much easier. Again, use your support object as much as you need to, standing on one foot, trying to keep the foot parallel with the railing. The railing should be set between the big toe and the next toe. Don't clutch your support object. You should be standing on the railing so that if it wasn't there, you wouldn't automatically fall. Leaning too much toward the object means that you were not practicing what it would feel like if you were actually balancing on the railing alone. Make sure to practice both sides, especially if you start feeling fatigue in one. Again, body stays upright, not clutching the structure, and working on the sensation of standing on just one foot, parallel to the rail. Be sure to use your dismounts at all times. Again, you're trying to stand on the rail between your big toe and your next toe with your full foot flat. This gives you the most surface area to make friction, which is going to help you stay on the rail. And every time you need to come down, make a conscious decision to use your dismounts so you're always in control of what's happening. Work to focus on your breathing. It should be deep, even, and relaxed. This will help you from tensing or clutching your structure, and will also assist you in feeling the balance more naturally. Also, trust your dismount and know that you can use it any time if you start to feel out of balance. When you trust your dismount and feel like you have a couple good seconds standing on each foot, it may be time to start walking. Do note that there are different schools of thought. Some do heel to toe or toe to heel. Either way, you're trying to prioritize placing your foot before committing to the balance, making sure that your entire foot is down before you commit your weight, and again, using your dismounts every time you need to come down. Aim to make your footsteps slow and relaxed. This will make sure that you actually have to use balance and not momentum. Eventually, it's also a good idea to learn both toe to heel and heel to toe footsteps for more options. Not every railing has a support structure next to it, but a lot of them have a lower rail. This can also work as a support structure. Just keep in mind it puts you in a very low stance, which means you're going to have to call upon even more strength and stability in order to mount the bar. That said, this is also a good progression if you want to focus on your single leg strength and getting onto railings that don't have any supports around. Next, we'll look at perpendicular foot placements on the railing. This position is great to support your precisions and jumping, as well as your general ability to stay on small spaces with control. Your foot placement should be on the balls of your feet with your toes just hanging off the edge. Avoid being on the arches and on the heels. Both of these positions are no good for keeping in control. They hurt when you land that way and it's a lot easier to slip. Also, don't let your heels drop below the surface of the bar. You want your ankles to be active, so your heels should be held slightly above the balls of your feet. This keeps you in control and able to do more movements. Just as in the previous parallel position, you may want to use a support structure to help you spend more time under tension. Remember, don't clutch this structure. You should be holding yourself in a position where if it didn't exist, you wouldn't automatically fall forward. Notice the chest stays up, arms used for counterbalance, and the body is trying to stay relaxed with good breathing and relying on the dismount at all times. Another way to work on this is to actually hold onto the bar between your feet. This is a good way to work on global stability and might be a bit trickier than the previous iterations. You start by holding on with both hands, lifting one arm up, getting the chest up, and then trying to get the other hand up. For this one, you might fall forward and the dismount still applies. All you need to do is look to the railing and twist till you face it so you can maintain control and holding onto the railing. If you are working with a support structure, you'll already be halfway to your dismount by the time it's time to come down. All you need to do is look to where your hands need to go and control your feet to the ground. Again, if you're falling forward, prioritize looking at the bar first so you can have a precise hand placement, allowing your body to turn into the fall, and again, putting your feet exactly where you want them. You may wish to try this position in different heights and levels. Standing tall, make sure to keep your knees slightly bent so that you don't lock out and fall down. And again, do not clutch or lean toward your structure, but gently use it to help support you in an upright position. Likewise for crouching down, you want your chest up, eyes forward, and hands barely using the structure if possible. Notice how quickly the eyes turn to the downward position in order to spot the hand placement for a good controlled dismount. When you're ready to challenge this position further, you may try rail squats. This is great for strength and stability, as well as supporting precision landing technique. Also, you may try to shuffle from side to side. This challenge is very important to keep your heels up and stay on the balls of your feet. Our next technique is balancing in quadrupedal position, also known as cat balance. This is excellent for getting more coordination, stability, strength, and is very useful when you need to stay low to a structure but still get across it in balance. Your eventual goal is to have your weight evenly split between hands and feet, so make sure not to have your hands too close to your feet when you want to try this technique. Use a railing that's either close to the ground or has a lower second railing. This is what's going to be your support object for this technique. Start by just finding your position, having one foot on the bar and two hands holding on, and then trying to remove your foot from the support. Next, you'll try to tap it into the place where it will eventually stay, and finally, you'll try and keep it in that place and hold your balance. Even though you'll be holding on pretty tightly, try to stay relaxed and keep your hips low. This allows your head to be able to move around to see. If the hips are high, it's too easy to flag and fall off, but luckily, you're already in a dismount position. Once you feel good or fatigued on one side, try it on the other side. Just like in the upright walking balance, you want to get used to the various patterns when you're standing so that you have a better chance to stay on the bar when you start adding movement like walking. When you are ready to try walking, be sure to progress with opposite sides at the same time. Left, right, left. This helps create a cadence and also keeps you in balance. The final thing we're going to look at is balancing in the step ball position. This is very beneficial for getting comfortable vaulting over railings, as well as, again, practicing more stability and ability to stay on the bar. This is also the way that is easiest to mount a bar when there is no lower rail or no support nearby. Be very mindful of your wrist position. You don't want an extended wrist, but you want to stack your bones and joints like a pillar for strength, stability, and safety. If your wrist is too extended, it's easy to fatigue, find discomfort, or even have injury. Likewise, be mindful of the placement of your foot. You want the initial placement to already be strong and ready to control by using the balls of the foot with the heel up. If instead your heel is low, or you're stepping on your arches or even heels, you'll have a much harder time stabilizing yourself on the railing, and you're more likely to slip off. Finally, to use this to practice mounting the railing, the best thing to do is work on holding and then threading the leg through as if you were going to vault. Not only does this allow you to have more confident vaulting in general, it's also going to give you enough time and stability to set your second foot down and actually mount the railing. And that's it for this video. Remember to approach your balance as a long game. You're not going to have instant gratification, but with diligence, practice, and focus over time, you'll find your abilities will grow, not just in balance itself, but in other movements in parkour, dynamic, static, and otherwise. With that, happy training.